Galactic Standard Date. Year 11356. Day 93. Sol Standard Date. 4th of the 5th, 3267. Azariah awoke, feeling more refreshed than she had ever been before. She quickly realized that she was in a pile of her peers who were all either crowded around or on Catherine's lap. Azariah had curled up next to Resla as she slept, and thus woke Resla when she began frantically shuffling around to try and find an exit route from the floof pile. Resla looked at Azariah and smiled. "You don't have to be in such a hurry, Azariah. I have found that I like to sleep on this terra more than I do my own heat bed. I plan to milk this chance for as long as I can. You should too," she said, as she curled back up into her little ball. Azariah mulled over and decided to go back to sleep herself, until Fuki tried to get her attention quietly by tapping on her tank. Azariah looked at the diminutive Yambi with a confused expression as she tried to figure out the game of charades that the Yambi had started playing. After about a minute of confused charades, Azariah realized that Fuki was trying to give her directions through the massive diplomats. Fuki brought her tank low to the ground so that she could properly converse with the recently freed Azariah. "Azariah, I have to ask you something in private. Let us move to either my own quarters or yours. We don't have much time before they all awaken and inevitably wake the Terran," she said. Azariah nodded and began leading Fuki to her room. Once they were in the hallway, Azariah asked, "So, what's this all about, Fuki? We have never really talked to each other outside of the Council's meets, so I don't really have any idea what you could wish to chat about," she said. Fuki changed a few colours before answering. "I have determined that I will be starting a poll among my people later today, depending on how this conversation goes. The contents of said poll will be whether or not we secede from the Council," she said, as her colours turned to a dark shade of blue. Azariah stopped in her tracks and her eyes went wide as she stared at the Yambi representative. "You're not joking, are you? What reason could you have for such a hasty decision?" she asked. Fuki turned her head and began heading to Azariah's room as she responded, "I will tell you when we have a bit of privacy. I doubt the cybersecurity now that the Emperor has pointed out such an obvious and glaring flaw. Once we take the laptop from your room, we will have the privacy we need, both from pioneers from the digital dimension, and those who may be listening in person," she said. Azariah stepped ahead of Fuki and moved to go unlock her room. Once they were inside, Fuki set her tank to float to the head level of Azariah, while Azariah removed the laptop from the room, setting it just outside the door. Fuki looked Azariah in the eye. "Let me ask you this straight. Do you find my people repulsive? Throughout our 9,536 years within this galactic compact, we have seen little benefit. The rest of the galaxy exploits our dexterous workforce for less than what they would pay for one of yours to do the same job, and do it worse. The Navy use Yambi as naval stealth special forces officers almost exclusively. Yes, they see less pay and worse treatment than any other specialist groups within the Navy. I accept this as the status quo no longer. So tell me, why my people have been treated like this for so long," she said. Azariah shuffled uncomfortably. "Well, I personally do not find you repulsive, Fuki. I will admit, though, I know of many who do. We can't just have you up and leave right now, though. The times are turbulent enough as it is. So what can I do? What could change your mind? I alone cannot change millennia of prejudice against your kind," she said. Fuki changed for a myriad of colours as she thought. "It is good to know that at least one of my peers does not find me repulsive. I will not fault any of your respective peoples. The compact has simply been where we had to stay. Now, with the Terrans, I think it might be time to move my people on to a place where they will be treated with the kind of love that Catherine showed last night. She was able to bond the council together almost entirely in one night, with a nap at that. If you can help me enlist her help in getting my people recognized as something that is sentient, and should be treated as such, then I shall stay. I cannot speak for my peoples, however. Once word gets around that a race of gods is willing to treat us well, there may be a mass exodus in the future," she said. Azariah sat down and thought. "I wish we did not have to rely on the Terrans so much. They just got here and we are throwing them millennia of baggage. Not only will they be giving us technology and arming us properly, but now I have to ask the newest edition of the Council to throw more on her plate. I will get this sorted out regardless, Fuki. Please, hold off on secession," she said, sounding exhausted. Fuki bobbed in affirmation and then left the room. Azariah opened the door and grabbed her laptop. She set it down on her desk and then noticed there were about 50 priority notifications. She sighed and began reading through the documents, starting from the top of the list. "Here we go again. I'm going to have to step on a lot of toes to be able to help Fuki, she said.